Have you ever once imagined how it would be like to be an Olympian? Most importantly, have you ever imagined winning for your country, winning the gold medal, being on top of it all? Well, if you love the Olympics or you just love minigame compilations, this game might be right for you. Summer Athletics 2009 is a game developed by DDP Entertainment and published by 49 Games. Just like other Olympic games in the past, this game has many events for you to choose from. Regardless of the amount of events that are included in this game, is this game actually worth a buy? Well, we'll take a look at it as we review the graphics, audio, and most importantly, the gameplay.
Player 1 makes a fast start.
Well, to kill two birds with one stone, I'm going to talk about both the graphics and the audio. The first thing is we're going to talk about the graphics and the character models, because to be honest, these character models are very bland and very ugly. And again, this game was made in 2008, so the graphics are very underwhelming for the time. So as you can see in this model, the outfits are very bland, and also the models are very similar and they're very outdated in the way they look. Now for the audio, the crowd reacts nicely to when you do well, when you have a good throw, when you have a good jump. It reacts very well.
Oh.
So as I said previously, the crowd reacts based on your performance. So if you do pretty good, they cheer wildly. If you do bad, then they go aww. Kind of like in a regular Olympics game. And for the environments, they're actually not that bad. The grass is pretty detailed. The sky, even though it's static, it's still pretty good. There's not really too many complaints regarding the environment. There wasn't really any high production value regarding the commentary. The announcer, he does his job. He basically says who's in first, who's in second, what's going on, who's up, who's not, and basically the basics. But because of that, he's not really very enthusiastic or very interesting. But he does the job well. So when it comes to graphics and audio, I will give the graphics a 6 and the audio a 6.5 out of 10. Again, the character models are very ugly. The environments do suffice, but still the ugly and outdated character models are still not good. The crowd is not that ambient. There's not really a good presentation when it comes to the ambiance in the audio department. Again, not bad, but not great either. And now onto the most important aspect of any game, the gameplay. Now there's a range of activities when it comes to Summer Olympics 2009. Summer Athletics 2009. You have running, throwing, jumping, archery, swimming, diving, cycling, and skeet shooting. I will be going in detail in each of these in just a moment. Now let's check out the sprints and dashes. All of them basically move the same, regardless if it's 200 meters, 400 meters, or whatever. All these short distance ones move the same. You basically hold your primary action to get into position and then move the stick around if you're using it on a gamepad. But basically it's a workout for your hands. That's how it feels to me. This game is pretty average. It's not in anything special, but it does the job well. And for a disclaimer, I prefer that you use to play this game on a gamepad and not the keyboard. For the relay races, it's basically the same thing. You gotta hold the primary action, so you can shoot out, get into the right position, and you use the right analog stick to flick. But since it's a longer track, it's actually a lot harder to me, because after a while your hands will start swelling up a little bit. Not really swelling up, but they'll get very stressed. And plus you have to press the right combination of buttons at the right time when you're switching off to the next partner. But they give you very little time to do this, and you need precise timing. Again, nothing really special with this minigame, but it does the job well. The next is the 100-meter hurdles. Now the hurdles to me are very underwhelming. The reason why is because when I press the jump button, it seems like he's reacting very slow. No matter when I press it, it just feels like there's a little delay on the jump. So yeah, basically this one is pointless. I feel like you should skip through this one. It's just a nuisance to me. Of course, next on our list now we got the long distance runs. Now for this one's the same. Hold the primary action to get ready and then let go when you're supposed to. But instead of flicking it left and right, what you have to do is you have to flick it up and down and keep it at the correct speed. However, if you do it too much, the speed will not adequately get up. And now you have stamina to consider, so that's another variable for this one. It adds another degree, but to be honest, this is very long to me and also very long-winded. It's just that repeating the same actions over and over again is pretty boring. I mean, you do get a final sprint, but then it becomes like the 100-meter sprint and the 200, the 400, where you're just flicking the right analog stick back and forth. It's pretty underwhelming for me. On to the throwing events. Now for here you got shot put, which basically you have to use the right analog stick to increase your power. But for me, I was never able to really get a grasp of the controls that much as I would like to. I mean, it is pretty okay, and it is very easy to get the correct timing and the angle as well. In terms of difficulty, it's not that difficult. It does take a little get used to though. But again, just like the few of the mini games I said in the past, it does suffice and it does alright.
17 points.
On to another, discus. Now discus is more about timing, as if you move it too much, you're not able to get the max power that you desire. So you have to move it in the correct amount of time in order to get the right amount of momentum. And then you find the right angle, like always, the correct timing, and make sure that it's all done well. But just like the other mini games, this is kind of, it's alright. It's one of the averages. Again, it does its job, but nothing else more. Now we got hammer throw. For this one, it's easier to get a grasp on for some reason, because I was able to do pretty good throws in very low amount of time, so I became really good at it very quickly. Again, it works the same, but for some reason this one feels a little bit better on the way it performs. So because of that, it's a pretty good mini game.
Second round.
Now we have javelin throw, which in my opinion it sucks. It's different than the rest, which is good and bad, because now you have to flick the right analog stick in order to run, kind of like what you did with the sprints. But for here, it takes way longer for it to respond and to actually get a good charge up. So because of that, it's kind of underwhelming. Now we've just finished the throws, so now we're on to the jumps. Now for this one, what you have is pole jump. Now pole jump is actually pretty good. It does its job very well, to be honest, and all the jumping games do. Now you have a power and you have to run up, and this one actually responds quite well. It's more based on timing, as you have to hit it just to get the perfect timing at just the right time, or you'll lose the power that you gained during your run up. And you also have to maintain your posture as you go over. So all this makes a very enjoyable mini game.
The chosen height is 5.7.
Next we're looking to the long jump. Now for this one you have your run up, so you have to move it at the right time. But then again, just like the other jumps, it's also based on timing as well, because you have to jump just at the right time. If you jump too late, you'll get a foul. If you jump too early, you won't be able to really get as far as you would like to. This one is actually pretty enjoyable for me, and I do recommend it. Now the next one I'll be talking about is high jump, and to be honest, this is easily my favorite minigame. One of my favorite minigames in this whole game. Now for this one, it's purely based on timing, so none of this how fast can you move the analog stick or how fast can you press buttons or whatever. No, it's correct, precise timing, what jumping should be. You have to press the secondary and primary action at just the right time to get just the right amount of power. And you also have to hold it and take off at just the right amount of time, because if you do this, you'll be able to get the most out of your power and be able to take off. And also you have to move the analog stick in order to maintain good posture. All of this feels very natural, very crisp. I enjoy this mini game a lot, and I definitely recommend that if you buy this game, to play this mini game at least. The next one that I'll be talking about is triple jump. Now triple jump works the same way as the long jump, but instead it's all about correct timing. And even though you have to run up, you have to press the button when to jump at just the right amount of time. Again, if you overstep it or you understep it, you either get a foul or you'll basically not get as far as you would like to. Again, it's a pretty good mini game. I mean, it's not the greatest mini game that I've played. It's certainly not the best, but again, it does its job and it's pretty good. Now on to archery. Now for archery, it's actually a pretty fun mini game. It's all based on getting it at the precise amount at the precise place in order to get the best. I mean, you have your wind strength that you have to consider. You have to get it at just the right place, and also if you hold it too long at the same spot, it starts shaking, so you really have to be very precise on where you shoot the bow. And this is actually a very enjoyable minigame. I've had a lot of fun with this, and you always get better and better the more you play in this minigame. So this is another minigame that I completely do recommend. Now, along with the compound bow, you also have the recurve bow. Now for this one is a lot more strategy to be involved. Now for this one, you cannot shoot the bow unless you hold the bow tension for as long as it can. And then once it gets to the top, your guy lets go and shoots. Now for this one, you have to get very, very precise, and you only have a short amount of time in order to do it. I mean, you can't let go of the bow tension, so you can add a bit of a strategy. So there's many ways to approach this mini game, and the limited amount of time that you have, you know, to pull the bow, and then it launches. It's not that bad. I mean, it adds another variable to a mini game, and it's pretty good. Now, the easiest one that I could say is my favorite mini game is diving. How much I love diving, I cannot even explain through words. This is just an amazing game. The atmosphere in this mini game is just amazing. The selection you have, even though it is limited, and I have seen more dives in different games, the way that diving works is very enjoyable. You have to get it at just the right time, and it's all based on timing. It's not on fast movements, on how fast can you move the analog stick or how fast can you do certain things. Because of this, I enjoy this mini game to the fullest. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of timing, but I feel like the way they constructed this is the greatest way to simulate diving. It's one of the best that I've seen in all Olympic games that I've played. I really enjoyed this, and I really recommend this mini game to the fullest that I can. Now let's move on to swimming. Now you have freestyle and backstroke, and I can't tell you how much these games freaking suck. First of all, you have to prepare like always, and whatever. The problem is how you freaking move to swim. Like, as you see, this is the breaststroke. This one you have to move the paddles like this, and if you don't do it at the right amount of time, then it all messes up. So if you're moving too fast, that's bad. If you're moving too slow, that's bad too. So you have to get this timing, and just the controls of it feels so odd and so weird. I don't enjoy swimming at all. I haven't really enjoyed that many Olympic games with swimming. So because of this one is a stay away. I do not recommend. Go ahead, try it if you bought this game, but I really cannot stand swimming. Next up we got is cycling. Now you got the regular ones, and you also have Team Pursuit and Team Try, or whatever the hell we call it. Basically what this is it's pretty good. With biking, it's a little different. You set the power by moving the right analog stick up and down. You don't really have to keep moving it up and down to get the power. I mean, that's what I was doing before, and I was realizing, oh, that's not how you play it. But after you learn how to do that, you'll do pretty fine. You also have a stamina at the bottom, which you have to maintain like always. And the stamina for me is very hard to maintain in these mini games. But I don't know if that's just a lack of skill or just because they have a short amount. But either way, it's pretty challenging, but it does its job. The only difference when you're using teams is that you have to drop the biker and you switch the leader. But other than that, there's no really a huge difference. Both are pretty good. Now when it comes to team biking, it's basically, or team cycling, whatever you want to call it, it's basically the same thing. You have to start the right amount of time, and you keep continuously go. Now depending on who has the most stamina is the person that you would try to get to be the leader. Now the person that whoever is the leader can be changed using a press of a button, and after a lap you could drop the last racer in order to keep the speed up and to keep everything going. So there's a pretty interesting element of strategy when it comes to this one. Overall, both games of cycling are very enjoyable, either if you play single or with people. It's or when you're playing on a team, it's very fun. Last but not least, or depending on your opinion, we have skeet shooting. Now for this one, it's to me it was pretty hard. I mean, I got the hang of it after a while. But for this one, the way you aim is you aim directly on a line. So it's like kind of guided aiming for you. And you have to release at just the right amount of time, at just the right timing. Remember, you shoot not when it gets there, but right before it gets there is when you're supposed to shoot. Because if you shoot when it gets there, you will miss. and sometimes it gets harder the farther away that the skeet goes, or the discus goes. It's very challenging, as I said before. This one, it kind of feels a little weird, but I mean, it's okay. And you also have both American and international, which the only difference is how the course. But after you play this many times and you get used to the patterns that it goes, because it rarely changes, then it'll be very easy for you. Now, if I recommend this game, somewhat, but not wholeheartedly. It's more on the lower end, to be honest. Now, instead of just single events, you also have various other modes as well. Like in this one, you have basically the mode where you get to take your character and improve them throughout the game. As you go through the missions and as you go through events, the better you perform, the better your potential is. And between events, you get to upgrade yourself and train to be better. This is a pretty good mode. I mean, it kind of does separate itself to add a little variety, you know, something to really strive for and to show us a sense of progression. But the same thing, you play the same mini games over and over again. Now, I was showing you gameplay in pure mode, but if you have arcade mode, you get to use these things, boost. And what boost basically does is it makes you better at whatever you do, such as archery. Here, when you line up your shot, you're immune, and your guy basically is still with his shot, so you get to aim it more precisely than before. You also have the Berlin World Cup mode, which is basically what you do is you take a team from any country and you compete in various events. You have a qualifying round, and then you have the final round, which the final round is a little bit harder. But either way, you're still playing the same mini games, so there's not much variation. You're just doing it with a team of people instead. Now, for all the good, the bad, and the ugly mini games, and also the various modes, I'm gonna have to give this a 7.5 out of 10 for gameplay. I mean, the mini games aren't bad, but eventually they do not hold your interest, because after you've played them a few times with friends and with family, there's nothing much else left to do. I mean, you have your Berlin World Cup mode and you have your career mode, but again, that won't hold your interest for long as well. So what does this all boil down to? Let's look at the overall score. Now, here are my closing thoughts. This game is very fun, especially when you're playing with other people. Not as fun as other party games that I've played with, but this does its job. I mean, the diving minigame is just excellent. I've had so much fun with this minigame. The archery minigame, you also have so many with the high jump. Basically, I've had fun with a majority of these minigames. However, they don't have the same staying power as other games do. Despite this is still a pretty good game. Now, because of all this and everything that I said, this game gets a 7 out of 10. Again, not the greatest game I've ever played, not the worst game I've ever played. I've certainly played better Olympic games than this, that's had better production values and better all that. And sometimes even better minigames, more variety. That's something this game should strive for and something to achieve. However, it does do its job very well, and that's all I can say for a game that has to do with the Olympics. And plus, a lot of them has had a bad stigma of being bad games. But I don't believe that. I believe these games has a lot of potential to be fun if done correctly and the right people are there to develop it. Either way, this game, I certainly recommend it if you're into party minigames or if you're looking for a game to play with your friends or family. This is Pow3rh0use signing off.